The Asics Novablast 3 versus the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. Two shoes that a couple of versions ago I never thought I'd be comparing. But here we are today with version 3 in both of these shoes, and we're looking at two very similar options. What is up guys, Andy Forrest Team Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're looking at the Novablast 3 versus the Speed 3. So welcome back to another comparison video, a long overdue style of video, something I used to do many years ago and just stopped over the last couple of years. But these two shoes have reignited that love for comparing them, mainly because they've suddenly become a lot more similar than their previous models. So we're going to be going through the pros and cons of both these shoes, and then at the end comparing as to which one might be best for you guys. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and let's start with the Novablast. So just a reminder, this is purely pros and cons. I've been through the technical information on both these shoes in their first impressions video. If you want more technical info, please do feel free to head over onto the channel. I'll make sure I link them at the end of the video too if you stay to the end. But if not, head back over there, check out the first impressions videos. You should find all the technical info over there. And also apologies for the audio. I know it's a bit echoey in here. It's a bit of a bare room, so there's a little bit of noise bouncing around. But with that out the way, let's dive into the pros and cons of the Novablast. Now, from previous versions, this thing has completely had an overhaul, mainly because of the updated Flight Foam Blast Plus midsole. What that's done is it's taken the weight massively down, meaning suddenly we have something a lot more in line with the Speed version 3. We're talking 8mm heel to toe drop. I think stack is in and around 36 to 38 in the heel, 30 or 28 to 30 in the forefoot. I got my stack heights completely wrong in the first impressions video, so if you do watch that, ignore those. It's very much around that, and it's exactly the same drop 8mm as the Speed, and very similar stack height too. And with the weight, we're talking 314 grams in my UK size 13, or 11.1 ounces. That is an ounce heavier than the Speed 3, but in previous versions we were looking at 348, 49, or into the 350 grams, so 12 or 13 ounces, a heck of a lot heavier. And those previous versions lended themselves very much to easy and moderate running only. I did some speed work in the first version. I did enjoy it, it was very versatile, but overall they were very much an easy day and recovery day shoe. This thing, however, now with the lighter weight midsole, I feel like the Flight Foam Blast Plus has really transformed the shoe and shifted it into another gear. So on the sliding scale, usually we would look at sort of that easy and moderate pace running. But with this, if we're talking easy pace and went all the way up to our VO2 max work, it really doesn't cover easy paces for me, despite the fact that it is a good easy day shoe. For me, I've got other shoes that do that. I now use this for moderate pace all the way up to sort of marathon pace, and I've used it for half marathon pace workouts too, and I've even done faster stuff in it, and it just works really well. But I do find the sweet spot very much around that moderate to marathon pace area, and I think that's a massive boost for the shoe, because there's a lot of shoes in every running shoe lineup that covers easy days and max cushion shoes. But this has now suddenly propelled itself into a round where there's a little less competition if you're using it for that moderate marathon pace and half marathon pace work, which I've got to say I love it for. You're now putting it in the round with the Speed 3, the Hyperion Tempo, and other shoes like that. And for me, it's been a real gem in that area. And now if we talk about the adaptations to the Speed 3, you'll understand why they're a heck of a lot more similar. So the Speed 3 comes in at 287 grams, 10.1 ounces. So it is an ounce lighter, as I mentioned, 8mm stack, exactly the same as Novablast 3628. So we are within millimeters of each other. Very, very similar drop, sort of geometry, I should say, and they feel both soft and bouncy shoes. The main difference is, of course, the nylon winged plate in this shoe, which does give this thing a bit more of a stable platform. I do feel the Novablast 3 is more stable than its previous versions, but this thing does feel very much more stable, much more like a cruising shoe. And with version 1 and 2, I was very comfortable doing those real top-end VO2 max workouts, but now if we get the sliding scale out again, that VO2 max has kind of cut down a little bit, and I feel like the sweet spot for this shoe now is going to be more 10k to moderate pace. That it has such a wide range, but I felt like with previous versions 1 and 2, you kind of want to start at marathon pace and finish at top end. It's kind of bumped itself back a little bit, which now has a bigger crossover with the Novablast version 3. I do still think this is a better shoe out of the two orientated towards speed. I do feel like that top end 10k, 5k, half marathon work, you are better suited in this, despite both of them handling it really well. I feel like the plate enables you to get a better response. The speed roll technology, it just aids for that better, smoother gait cycle. Without that in the Novablast, it can feel a little bit mushy, depending on when you really start to pick up the pace, it's fine, but it can, in your recoveries, I find, as you're plodding, feel a little bit like you're sinking into a marshmallow. I do find like this keeps me turning over nicely during those little jog recoveries and makes me feel like ready to go again during each interval. So in terms of the pros and the cons, I really don't have a con for this shoe yet. I haven't put as many miles in as the Novablast. Novablast, I've put over 200 miles in. This thing is very low at the moment, only 3 or 4 runs, but I have to say this is a really top quality update. It has moved more to that cruising area due to the platform of the shoe becoming a little bit wider and the winged plate spanning the width of the shoe, but overall still a really, really solid option. And so if we look at putting these two head to head, it really does come down to what you want to use the shoes for, because I very much do feel like both these shoes are incredible. And let's just say we all know that both these shoes are currently on discount, or you can get them discounted. I think both of them under £100. This certainly was on sale at Sports Shoes for under £100. I've heard people say this is also the same from other places. So both will be willing additions to your training rotation. But let me ask you the question. Are you looking for a shoe that is kind of in the moderate to marathon pace realm? Are you entering a marathon block and you need a shoe to fill that kind of steady mileage and marathon pace mileage? I'm going to be honest with you, I couldn't tell them apart. Like, I wouldn't be able to say I would choose one over the other. I think at the point they cross over with those two sections, they're both as good as each other for different reasons. As I said, like without the plate, if you're going a bit slower, it does aid itself more to those easier recovery miles. But when you're doing intervals, this thing can feel a tiny bit mushy as you're kind of just sort of plodding there. Whereas this certainly doesn't. But when you're picking up the pace to that marathon and sort of moderate mileage, even potentially to the half marathon, then yeah, I couldn't tell them apart. I would say to you, find the one with the biggest discount and get it. That is my genuine opinion on both these shoes. If you were much more of an 80-20 runner and you wanted a shoe that was going to soak up a lot of the easier miles, this is certainly more suited to that. I do feel like still this is such a great easy day shoe. I do personally not use it for easy days now, just because I'm working on cadence. And I find with the softness and bounciness, I bounce too far, and it helps me. It doesn't aid me in trying to keep my cadence nice and short and choppy. I find other shoes with slightly firmer midsoles better for that, but it is very much a good easy day shoe, and I would choose it over this. I have actually done an easy shoe in this run this week, actually, as I'm recording the video, and I loved it. It can certainly handle easy day miles, but I feel this is better suited to that. So if you're going for that bottom end, then this will be better. But then I would flip that on the other way around and say, hey, if you're looking at a shoe in your marathon training block or any block where you're looking for more moderate marathon pace, but also want something that can reach a little bit further, do some half marathon workouts, 10K and even 5K, really push the pace, do some good strides in it, this is going to be the option for you. So I do feel there's a good crossover in the middle for both of them, where I just couldn't tell them apart in terms of which one I recommend. But I do feel if you're looking for that more easy day stuff, then this is going to be the one you want to go for. If you are certainly looking for something to pick up the pace, I would certainly choose the Speed over the Novablast. So there we go, that's the Asics Novablast pitched against the Speed 3. Really happy to have put that one together. Really delighted actually that these two shoes have come together now to become such similar in their style and what you can use them for. It's great to see the evolution of both the shoes. I think they're both going in different directions in terms of the Novablast very much coming to the forefront of a little bit faster turnover, a little bit more speedier, not necessarily that easy day plodder. The Speed potentially coming away slightly from that top end, whether that's intentional with Saucony really wanting people to use the pros over the Speeds, because over the last couple of years I have heard people say, look, the difference between the Pro and the Speed in version 1 and 2 really isn't that big of a deal, and I know a lot of people were choosing to race in the Speeds over the Pros. So whether this is an intentional thing from Saucony or not, That's kind of like my hunch. I think that they're just dulling it down a little bit so that you do gravitate towards the pros for those race days. And I think this update in the 3s certainly makes that clear cut for me. I've raced in the Pro 3s, set my half marathon PB at Severn Bridge over there, loved it, course PB, sorry, loved them. And I definitely wouldn't, if anyone said to me speed or pro for racing, I would hands down say pro. Back in the past, in previous versions, I'd probably be a bit more hesitant depending on the recommendations, but definitely the pro for racing. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for the first comparison of the year. If you want to see more comparisons and you guys are familiar with my running shoe lineup, if you've been watching the reviews on the channel, do drop a comment below and let me know what you'd like me to pitch against each other. I'm more than happy to pick the top voted comment and put another video together. Or if you just have a suggestion, I'll read through them, and whichever ones catch my eye, I'll make a note and put those together for you over the coming next few weeks. I'm excited to deliver more of these, and I just love making them. So I appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of this comparison video. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.